Thank you for being here.
Again, thanks.
I'm not putting an age to you, and this is, I can't believe almost 40 years of doing astrology. Like, you're a guru of astrology. That's amazing.
It wasn't what I planned to be. It was like I was in chemistry, math at university, but I ran into astrology, and suddenly it became like a hobby that was too interesting, and I never could get away from it.
Really, it stayed with you.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. It was you were in your teenage years, and you learned about it through school?
No, I ran across it. I'd left home, and I was on my own, and I ran across somebody who did a chart for me, and I went, oh, wow, this is too incredible.
Oh, okay.
And then it just took off from there.
Oh, okay. And you've traveled too. You've been on your own spiritual journey.
Yeah.
Do you want to reference that at all?
Oh, it's not necessary.
There's so much. That would be a show in and of itself.
We want to talk about potentials of people, because when you're born,
That's right,
you're
right.
pure potential. At the moment you're born, you're like a seed. The tree is always in the pattern of the seed, but you don't know how much of it will actually grow. So we kind of have two destinies in life. One, we're given our God-given potentials, and how much of that we're able to develop it's one destiny, developing our potentials, being as much as we could possibly be, and giving a run at it, at life. The second one, if we're able to do that, then we may have a higher destiny involving other people that we're aligned up to. There may be 100 people that fulfill those potentials that build up to be ready for it, and one person may be in the right place at the right time, and it happens.
So you're saying as we grow into our potentials and fulfill them, we will meet others who resonate at
and you have doorways open because you've done it. But not everybody, just because you develop a potential, not everybody is given I've got to go do this, I have a special calling or something like that. We all have our special callings of our life.
Okay.
And it's enough just to be kind to people and to grow and to be loving, to find love. That's enough.
That in and of itself is enlightened for absolutely. That's saintly.
Well, it's always a puzzle what love is. One thing for sure, it's not what you think it is. It's something about feeling, it's something else.
Right.
So when we're born with each planet is like each planet's like a hand on a clock moving around. So we're coming into time. This clock's going on forever, and we stop it. We get a slice of time when we're born. And the planets become like alarms pulled on a clock. There's 10 alarms on the clock.
Okay.
Okay, so each planet is one of these alarms, and it becomes our pattern, and the pattern between these alarms is our sound and our music, our character, and we function that way. We take it on. It's just normal. Now, the world doesn't stop because you get on. Everything keeps moving. So as each of the hands of the clock move on, or each of the planets move on, whenever they touch one of the alarms, and that can be determined way in advance from the time you're born, you can see all your whole life when they're going to touch the alarm. Something alarming happens, and we have our challenges in our life.
Oh.
So there's certain times, some challenges come up and they last for a couple hours. We ate something wrong, we did something, just a personal moon challenge that lasts a few hours. But some challenges last a couple of days, a couple of years.
Right.
So if you got a challenge that you get spaced out and suddenly, why am I not functioning? Where am I going? Are you feeling lost or sad for a couple of years? And you're wondering, is this all there is?
Or what if people are saying to you, you should do something about it or change it, or why aren't you making a move? Meanwhile, the person might not be able to at that time.
Sometimes you got a clear run to go forward, and you got to run. And if you don't, you didn't dance. Right. Sometimes if you got times where you're impaired, and you're better off to just be quiet, or you make a bigger fool of yourself.
Right.
You're married, so you know that when the husband should be quiet or is acting impaired, and when he's making a fool of himself, he should know better.
Well, it's interesting because I think you're, like you said, there's certain times when we're really called to show up and put our input, but other times when we're forcing it, it's not working.
Yep.
And I think that's a huge lesson for me, especially as a Leo, to learn that there's timing. There is timing, and that's a graceful thing, actually.
It's easier when you see it looking as kids. We're all somebody's kid. But if you're looking at a kid, how do you get the most out of your kids? You got this screaming monster yelling and needing something really, yet that's part of the quality. It's healthy for a young kid to be screaming. They have good lungs. And they're having to use that energy. You're trying to control it or they'll kill themselves, so you have to watch it. You're having to take care of it. So there's a texture of learning that's half picked up from mom, but half of it's a little bit of your own. And as we go, it goes through different stages and at different times. So like puberty, everybody goes through puberty, but it happens somewhere between 11 and 15. It's not like the same age for everybody. It's somewhere, and it creates different. So when you start measuring things, you start seeing the patterns. Astrology is like the calendar of these changes or timings, but it starts with you're unique. You have your own special approach and a way that's going to reinforce you.
Okay. So give us examples for the viewers at home, what different potentials are.
Okay, so Mercury is the potential of your mind, how to think, how intelligent you are, how you communicate, and how you process. Now, some people are very rational, dry thinkers. Other people are very emotional thinkers. And they process very differently. And in the same room, one gets insecure, one doesn't. But it doesn't mean one's more intelligent than the other. It's just different ways of processing.
Right.
So you begin to see these ways, and you can start saying, oh, what kind of education, how would you reach this person? Or how you solve this puzzle for this kid, this new soul coming out into life to gain these experiences. Same with Venus, we have different values or different emotions. Mars is how we put out energy, so it's the most blatant one. And it's about how we use force, how we desire experience. I got to do this, I got to do that. I got to be somebody. I'm going to do something. And so some of us push too hard and we hurt other people. Some of us don't push enough and we inhibit ourselves. And how do you build up muscles or strength? So usually you can see someone's Mars just by their muscle tone. You meet someone, if they're in shape, if their muscle tone is there, their Mars is exactly there.
Wow. So how does a person find balance then? Because obviously we're prone to one way or another.
Well,
what's
balance in dance? It's an interesting process. You push how far you push.
Depends on what dance you're doing.
Yes, that's right. And how far you've learned how to develop the skill to push it. Like, you develop muscles. I mean, everybody develops muscle. Everyone wants experiences from sexual experiences to, I want to be married, I want to have a job, I want to have a car, I want to do things. You get in the way of anybody doing anything, they're going to get mad. So the strength in doing things is one thing, but hurting other people has consequences. So what we do, we're responsible for.
So responsibility.
So learning that there's responsibility, that's Jupiter. How well someone learns that you're responsible for what you do, or what you do affects others. Some people don't seem to learn that, and then they're more aggressive or violent, and they don't really pick it up. So you see these predispositions when someone's born, and we all have these in our charts, and the chart measures that. And then how do you solve those puzzles? So if you've got a kid that's a little extra aggressive, like you got a boy that's hitting or being really strong, you got to get this kid into sports or get him physical where there's some nobility or some challenges or some team spirit that works out, where it channels the energy. If you try and repress it, you're only going to make it worse. You're going to make an angry teenager.
Right, I see what you're saying. So it's really supporting these things, supporting these strengths.
It's using each one, saying each one's there and understanding's there, and each one needs its attention in its own way.
Well, what about, and there were other planets you wanted to touch on.
Jupiter's a planet of understanding.
Okay.
So often we think we understand everything, and my understanding is to someone else that's 20 years older is I'm just looking like an idiot.
You're just a young guy. Like, wait till he has another experience under their belt.
Yeah, so we're all going to get experience and trying to understand what's the way of looking at it. And we're trying to try this understanding. What happens when our understanding's wrong? Oops.
Yeah.
We get embarrassed or it guides things, and then we run into things that are wrong, and we have to adjust. And change the way we understand things. That's the bigger order.
Wow.
And that we don't do till we're at least 12 years old. We start adjusting our understandings. But even at 6, when we're starting school.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah.
And Saturn's the edge of, like Mars is our muscles, Saturn's our bones. So all life is a challenge between muscles and bones. So if you're too strong, you can break your bones. If you're too rigid and too much in your bones, you don't have enough muscles and you don't do enough. So you have a battle between, are your muscles stronger than your bones, or your bones stronger than your muscles?
Interesting. That's a neat way to look at it in the physiology, because people can get a sense of that in their body. That's really, really neat.
And just timing, energy, restraint, discipline, when you integrate it, it works really great, but it takes time to learn something properly.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Rather than running, I can just do it. And you say, wait, but you're not doing it as well as you could be. But a young person often can't hear that.
Right.
So we grow. And that's what
mastery.
At any age. So when you're young, you got all the strength, none of the wisdom. When you get older, you have a little bit more wisdom, hopefully. But there's some old fools out there. But you don't have the same energy, so you have to guide your energy better so you can still get things done.
Oh my gosh, it's so interesting.
The energy changes across a lifetime, across your timings. Each of the planets, as they move around, there's 4 main types of crises that we get that challenge us, that people come get their charts for.
Okay.
First one is Saturn. We get bored, we're tired, there's too many responsibilities, we can't do anything. What's next?
Oh, really? It feels mundane, or it just feels tiresome?
It's just heavy.
Heavy.
Bored, depressed. Saturn's in Leo right now, so it's making pressures, make decisions. Leos have to make decisions. I got to do something. I got to be something. I got to make something. They're working hard, but Aquarius, Scorpio, and Tauruses are feeling a little depressed and hemmed in. There's too many responsibilities. When can I make it happen? Oh. And they're hemmed in a little bit more. Oh. Everyone gets their time in 30 years when Saturn goes through their sign.
Right.
But then, so that's Saturn. It's just responsibility, growing up, taking on commitments. Mm-hmm. Uranus is a planet of shock and excitement. So it causes anxiety and shock because everything's changing. Oh my goodness. Now some signs relate to change really well. Other signs don't. Okay. If you try and get a Taurus to move, it's hard. It's easier to move the whole house with them in it. Like there's so when Uranus right now is going through Aquarius, is going through Pisces. So Pisces are starting to be a lot more excited and excitable, trying to do their own thing and be more independent, but they're often very restless and nervous in this. But the Virgos and the Geminis and the Sagittarius are much more hyper because of this.
Because when it's in one sign, it still affects certain other ones more or less, depending.
So there's a nervousness and restlessness. So these can be determined how long it lasts. So there's certain times when people are unstable and other than more stable, but it's only a time we go through. It's not who you are. It's just a puzzle you're solving.
What about Neptune? Because I know that's one I've learned about more recently.
It's the planet of romance and adventure. But romance and adventure gets us in more trouble than anything else because we get our sorrows, we get our heartbreaks, we get lost, we get drunk, we get our happy hours, whatever, we get into our escapes. You know, as soon as someone says, you're the ultimate goddess for me, just take care of me, feed me. It's like a setup, right? It's almost time to run. How can you live up to it then?
Oh, no.
Or expectation or codependency is all tied to Neptune problems.
So what is it? But when that moves through, like
so
what
when
is
it comes
doing?
in, it creates a time where we run into fog in our life. We think we know what we're doing, we don't.
Oh, so it's illusion.
Yeah. Let's take the mortgage and we'll double mortgage it. We'll buy another place out there and we'll start this thing. It's going to go really good. And that person's they're so sure they're right, but it isn't necessarily right. And you could throw away. So it causes sorrows. It creates failures. The failures that Neptune causes teach us greater faith.
Oh, okay.
And realize, so the outer planets dissolve us to make us greater, but it's not comfortable. So we're fighting it. And it comes out, how can this be happening? So when you do a chart, I'm aligning, someone's lost in their sorrow. When does it lift? When does the fog lift? When does the cloud lift? And you start to see that. That's so useful to know. It's not forever.
Right. Oh, no kidding.
And then Pluto's the last one, brings in power struggles and confrontations. It's like brutal truth and consequences. You know, so if you're going on romance, I'm the most wonderful, beautiful person in the world. Oh, yeah, but you're this age or you're this or that. You know, then you got Pluto coming in and you have to deal with it.
Oh.
So Pluto is
like an awakening of sorts?
Pluto's like Clint Eastwood saying, okay, God, make my day. Did I say that?
Oh, no.
You know, or just if something's real. It's about truth, really, truth and consequence. What's real? So we can play so many games, but then sometimes someone has to say, so what? What's true?
Oh, wow.
And sometimes you have to make a decision, cut back something, get realistic. If you're telling someone for 10 years you're loving someone, you really just like them. You can set up a misconception. And then sometimes you have to fix that misconception.
And so then it gets, so it's like a time to rectify?
Yeah, well,
realign.
all these things are like different layers in oils and vinegars. And when we experience them all shook up like a salad dressing. That's just our life. We're just salad dressing going on. You know, but when you stop it and you start, astrologers looking at these different layers of what the different layers are.
Oh,
so we don't really see it like that because we have it all. We're just living our life. We're just winging it.
Right.
It only becomes useful when you start. If it's going well, you do it. If it's not, then you have to try and fix things.
What about this Mercury business in retrograde? We've got just a couple minutes left, by the way. So
Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year for about 22 days.
Okay.
And when it goes retrograde, communications are said to be a little bit more screwy. Really, it means Mercury's closest to the Earth.
Oh, okay.
At the time it's closer, and when like two trains, you ever been in a train and you pass the slower one, it looks like you're going back. It looks like something's going backwards, like the direction seems to reverse. That's what retrogrades are. The planets don't go backwards; they're moving forward. It just appears that way because the two speeds are comparable.
Oh, because there's a slowing down of sorts.
Okay. And so when it retrogrades, it means I try and go back and fix things that need to be, take care of the mail I haven't taken care of, or take care of projects I haven't done. But often mail gets delayed, or you're trying to communicate the wrong things get said. People aren't hearing exactly right.
So it slows us all down in a sense.
Especially in media fields. You'll start to see the delays, traffic jams up.
Well, I know you have lots of upcoming courses. You have one at the Hedgewich.
Yeah, I have one starting, a 4-week course starting on the 22nd of May. But people can come 1 week for individual weeks.
They can do drop-ins.
It's on Tuesday nights, yeah.
And they can come to you for personal readings. And you've got ongoing new moon meditations and classes. We're putting Robin Armstrong's contact information across the bottom here because there's so much more information to cover.
I have a newsletter.
And we're wrapping up.
I have a newsletter that I go, so if you send your email to me, I'll send you a monthly newsletter with some predictions and stuff on it.
Perfect. So you can sign up for Robin's monthly newsletter and learn about his predictions. And we'll look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks for joining us.